Days like these don't come around all that often. It might be pouring with rain, but we've got an empty Goodwood circuit and every single generation of the world's most successful roadster to play with. The Mazda MX-5, after 25 years and over 1 million sales worldwide, has come to dominate this market like no other sports car before or since, with a winning formula that's based on lightness, simplicity, and of course, rear-wheel drive handling balance. Now, today on track, we'll be taking everything from the 1989 original all the way through to the brand new Mark IV. And we're going to see firstly how that DNA has evolved over those 25 years, and secondly, if by going back to its roots, Mazda might just have made the best MX-5 yet. Unos, Miata, MX-5, whatever you want to call it, this is a car that transcends borders, boundaries, and even motoring cliches. And it's amazing just how tiny it feels in here once you're sat in the first generation. It started off in life with just a simple 1.6 litre engine with 114 brake horsepower. The later 1.8 models got about 16 more brake horsepower, a stiffer suspension, and a limited slip rear differential. But all the ingredients of the MX-5 legend are here. It weighs just 990 kilos. It's got perfect weight distribution, this snappy little 5-speed gear change, and of course, rear-wheel drive. And when it first arrived in the UK, it cost just a snip over £14,000. It's not hard to see why Mazda had a smash hit on its hands. Eight years after the original was launched, Mazda had the confidence to stick with its winning formula for this, the sequel. The body grew a little curvier, the pop-up headlights sadly had to disappear because of crash regulations, but the interior and all the ingredients stayed very consistent. You still got that stubby gear lever and this delicate thin-rimmed steering wheel, and if all the badges were covered up, you'd still definitely know you were driving an MX-5. Now, this car actually had slightly wider tyres than the original, so there was a bit more grip through the corners. Power steering was now standard, and the higher-end cars still got a limited slip differential. But I have to say, the driving experience was still really consistent. This car also had a lot more competition to contend with. There was the Fiat Barchetta, MG had its TF, there was also competition from BMW and the likes of the Toyota MR2, but the MX-5 saw them all off with ease, and that was down to its incredible durability. This car used the same engines as the original, just because they were so easy to fix, not that they ever broke. Now, this is the point at which the purists will probably say that Mazda lost its way a little bit and diluted the DNA of the MX-5. The Mark III was bigger and heavier than both of the previous models, and it also got the option of an automatic gearbox and a folding metal roof for the first time, all of which added weight and was bad for the handling balance. Having said that though, I have to say it's still a pretty sweet car to drive. It's got that same suppleness that all of the cars had, so although there's some initial body roll on turn-in, once you do get into a corner there's still plenty of grip. The engine still loves being revved to within an inch of its life because of the natural aspiration, and this gearbox is as sweet as ever. But it's just that the entry-level model, the 1.8, kind of lacked that immediacy, that instant response that you got with the first two cars. So it'll be interesting to see how Mazda has moved the game on for the Mark IV, which comes a few years after this one. So what's new with the Mark IV? Well, the looks are definitely back to basics. This car is lower, shorter and stubbier at both ends than the Mark III, which has helped trim some of that fat that's built up over the years and decades. This interior also features some technology that will feel pretty space-age to anyone who owned the original 1989 car. It's got two USB ports, this floating screen for the infotainment system, and a scroll wheel here that's a bit like BMW's iDrive system. Importantly though, unlike almost every other car manufacturer, rather than pursuing a turbocharged route for getting more torque and lower CO2 emissions, Mazda has stuck with natural aspiration, and that means this engine still loves being revved. And on the open road with the roof down, you can really enjoy that linear build-up of acceleration. The 1.5, that's got 128 brake horsepower, but I have to say the 2 litre with 158 looks like really good value, because you also get a limited slip differential, uprated brakes, and a front strut brace to make it stiffer across the front axle and help it turn in that little bit quicker. I think that's the car to get if you fancy ever taking your MX-5 on track. The MX-5 might only be half the age of that other leviathan of the sports car world, the Porsche 911, but both cars demonstrate the success that can be had by finding a winning formula and sticking to it religiously. It deserves all the sales that it's had, and although I might have a personal soft spot for the Mark I and the Mark II, this new car really does bring together all the best elements of every generation and also brings it into the modern age.